Hey, I'm Jax, and I'm gonna answer the age-old question. Can I turn a lunchbox into a corset to make the lunch set? So let's start making it. All right, for this one, design-wise, I wanna do a bustier style, not a full corset, because, you know, the lunchbox isn't that large, and I don't really wanna do a patchwork thing for this one, so we're just gonna do bustier. Now, while I'm making that pattern and designing it out, let's go over the challenge. Now, for this one, I am pretty sure I can make everything that I have to sew with 100% out of the lunchbox. It has a face. There's even, on the inside of the lunchbox, it has the sponge material that I can use for the interfacing, and then the lunchbox has its own lining. So, I want to be sure to use only the lunchbox, except that there is one exception. I'm going to be adding bones, because it's not a corset without bones, and the lunchbox doesn't have anything for the bones. So that is our one exception, but everything else, I only want to use the material from the lunchbox. That also includes not using grommets, because I usually like to add grommets because it's stronger, it's more likely to last longer. But for this one, the challenge is only use the lunchbox except for the bones, okay? There's a pattern, it's 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. Sweet. All right, so here is our pattern. So now let's start cutting everything out. So let's get to doing that. All right, let's tear apart these lunchboxes. So first, I want to get as much workable material as I physically can. So I'm cutting out the front and the back, so that way I can harvest the lining, the foam, and the face of each and every lunchbox. So that way I have as much material as humanly possible. For the very front, I want to be sure and get the awesome characters, because if there's an awesome picture of Woody and Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story, you're gonna use the awesome picture of Woody and Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story, yeah? All right, and then we move on to our sides. I'm just gonna use some of the darker blue in the front, and then the lighter blue, because on the actual lunchbox, the lighter blue is where the opening is. So I thought it was clever to use the lighter blue in the back where the opening of the bustier is. I don't know, I thought that was clever and like a nod back to the lunchbox. Maybe it's not, I don't know. Also on the side, I wanna be sure to keep intact the little like water bottle holder, so that way I can sew that in, so that way the side can have that little pouch there, because that's also very fun. So we're being sure to cut out a left and a right of each and every piece, and we're also going to cut out a left or right from that foam material and that lining material. That lining material. We'll talk about it more later. Hey, but also if you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button. Yeah, it makes it do better in the algorithm. I'd really appreciate that if you did that. All right, so here is everything cut out. Now we gotta sew everything together. So let's do that. All right, first thing we're gonna do here is attach our interfacing to our main body. So let's do that. All right, it's prep work time. It's been a minute since we've actually had a prep work time segment. So again, all we're doing is being sure that we sew around that edge. Some of the pieces I had to do a little bit of shenanigans with because the lunchbox is kind of small. So some of the outsides are a little bit smaller than what they're supposed to be, but that's okay because we have the full cutout out of the interfacing, and where it would be showing like, oh, that's actually a little bit too small, it's in the seam allowance. Who cares? Nobody cares, because you're not going to see it because it's in the seam allowance. Yeah. All right, now let's put together the lining. So let's do that. You see this part? Yeah, this is the worst part of the video. This is the annoying kind of plastic that just rips. It just rips. I kind of finagled it so that way it like stayed together enough, but ugh. Also, there's one piece that isn't actually made out of the weird plastic because it was kind of gross. I'm not really sure. I just threw it away, and then I used part of the outside on the inside. But that doesn't exist. You don't see that part. You don't see that one, okay? But everything else it's all the lining that is not great to work with. Cool. All the prep work is done. All right, so this is how we're gonna put everything together. So first we're gonna sew 1/2 inch all the way down. Then we're gonna take our sew-in bones here and sew them in. Cool. So now all we gotta do is that, but for the rest of them. So let's get to doing that. All right, it's time for a long sewing portion of the video, so you know what time it is. It's tier list time. Let's go, everyone. Of course, if we throw the material that we're working on onto the tier list, and the lunchbox is a B tier. Yeah, it's all right. It's going together. It's going together, but there's just a couple of issues while I'm sewing, right? Because number one, the lining, it's not great. Okay, that material is not great. It rips. It's kind of stretchy, but it stays together enough so that way it's like functional. Also, this foam material just instantly rips as well. It was fine when it wasn't underneath the pressure foot. To actually sew the pieces together, 1/2 of the foam has to be underneath the pressure foot. But the moment the pressure foot hits it, it just kind of rips it apart right where it is. It stays on the actual piece enough because I did enough prep work so that way it would stay. And then when you fold over your seams to add in your bones, it kind of covers the part that rips, so you don't really notice that it does rip. But when you're sewing it, it's very concerning. It's very frightening every time you go over a seam to make the actual piece. Your fabric is ripping. So that's why it's a B tier. It still works, right? It works. It's there. It's staying together-ish, but it's not great. Would it have been higher if I decided not to use everything from the lunchbox? Yeah, I probably would have been an A tier with just like that outside material. But since I used everything, it kind of gets bumped down to a B tier. But that's the point of the challenge. That's why we do this. It's the struggle. Yeah. So again, all we're doing is 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then we're gonna take our sewing bones. I'm a hater of sewing bones, but here's the thing. I'm kind of out of my regular bones, so we're just gonna use what I have for this one. My bad. Whoops. Miscalculated just a little bit, but it's fine. We're gonna use the sewing bones, 1/4 inch on each side. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Cool. So here is everything sewn together. Now I want to take the straps of the lunchbox and turn them into loops so that way I can use that as our lace-up mechanism for this particular bustier. So let's do that. All right, for step 1 of this, we're gonna fold this in half, add a top stitch, so that way I don't have to worry about it being too wide to fit in here, so that way I can actually add in all the loops I want. Yeah? Okay. Now we're gonna look at this lovely hand footage of me showing you how I'm folding this in so that way I have external loops. Awesome. I'm gonna take the piece, twist it, and then fold it in half. And that's how we're making each individual loop. Yes, it's a little bit bigger so that way you can see it better. On here, they're a little bit smaller so that way they don't stick out as far. Cool. There's no hammer time in this video. I like jumping around to do the hammer time bit, but that's the challenge of this one. Okay. After we make all of those loops, we attach some facing inward so that way when we flip it out, they're facing the right direction. It's a little bit reversed of what you would think, like, oh, I want them sticking out, but that's not how that works. So we're gonna face them inward. I'm gonna just do a top stitch right now so that way when I add in our lining, it's a little bit easier for me. I don't have to worry about things moving around. Did I measure this? No. Should I? Probably. Did I want to? No. So I just kind of eyeballed where each one, I think I did a pretty good job. It's fine. I didn't want to measure, man. I just kind of did it. I think I did a pretty good job. Okay, we're moving on to adding on the lining. So what we're gonna do is sew down 1/2 inch, then we're gonna flip everything out, add a top stitch on the other side so that way it just sits nicer. Turn it around, and then we're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. We're gonna close that center stitch, then we're gonna flip everything out, add a top stitch at the top so that way when we add our bias finish, it's nice and easy. And then next step is we're going to add our bias finish. We're almost to the end of this project. Stay with me. I know it's a lot. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. So I've also decided to use this strap to add as our finish at the top here. So we're just sewing along the edge, 1/2 inch. And then I'm also just gonna trim it down to 1/4 inch because this material is a little bit hard to actually flip over. I know I should use something different, but I thought this would look cooler. So after we trim our 1/4 inch, we flip it over, we add a top stitch, and then ta-da, we got a completed piece. Isn't that crazy? There it is. All right, let's throw it up on the form and we can see how this turned out. Before we see the completed lunch set on the form, if you made it this far into the video, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. I work really hard on these. I really like doing them and I would like to keep doing them more. So it would be really cool if you did that. All right, let's see the completed lunch set on the form. There it is. Sweet. I think this turned out pretty cool. I'm gonna clean this up and then cut to me in front of a green screen to get my final thoughts. So there it is. And the answer to the age-old question, can you turn a lunchbox into a corset, is yes. It is pretty cool. Yeah, I like how this turned out. Overall, there's some warpy bits because of the lining, but overall, I think I did what I set out to do, which is use everything from the lunchbox, not just a couple of things and then add some extra bits to make it even better. So I'm actually really happy how this one turned out because the challenge was use everything from the lunchbox, and I used everything from the lunchbox minus the zipper. I was thinking about maybe putting the zipper in the front, and I decided I like sleeping, so I didn't do that. But overall, I'm super happy. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like, subscribe button, drop a comment on what weird material I should use next. Every Wednesday is Vintage Wednesday. This past week, I made a bootleg Batman costume. So if you haven't seen that video, you should go check that out. And every Sunday is my challenge video. Right now, I'm doing a bunch of corsets made out of weird materials. Yeah, and I'll lunch you later. When Toy Story 3 first came out, I went to see it 6 times in the theaters when I was like 12 or however old I was. I don't really know. But we went 6 times. We saw that movie 6 times. I think that's the only movie that I went into the theaters to see multiple times.